Hi, this is Cathy Goodwin. Today we're starting a new series of midlife career strategy video tips. Today's tip is, what do you do when someone comes riding into your workplace like a cowboy on a white horse who rides into town in the Old West? And that person is your boss or your boss's boss. Well, just as in the Wild West, if a stranger came into town, you wanted to figure out what was going on, and it probably wasn't good. You need to be aware of danger signals when you just got a new boss, or if your boss just got a new boss. Because that's, in fact, sometimes even worse, because you don't know where this is coming from. Your boss starts acting differently, and you have no idea what's going on or why. And probably one of the worst scenarios is you were hired by one boss, you show up for work, and you are told, oh, she's not here anymore, or he just left, and now you have a different boss who doesn't know who you are, didn't hire you, may not have wanted you. You just started a new job, and now you've got to figure out what's going on. I have been in that situation more than once myself. A major alert should go off, especially if your workplace changed and not in a good way. So let's say before you were always invited to certain meetings, or you were promised certain opportunities and they disappeared, or you were given a performance review by your new boss or by the boss under your new boss's boss, and it's not as good as it was. Those are all signals that something is amiss, something needs attention. It may not mean you should panic. In fact, you shouldn't panic, but it does mean that you need to pay attention. So what can you do? Well, as usual, expect the best, but prepare for the worst case scenario. Many sources agree 30 to 40% of executives lose their jobs after getting a new boss. And there are reasons, because many bosses were brought in specifically with the idea of new broom sweeping clean, let's make major changes. And a lot of times they're expected, sometimes explicitly told, to make a bold move to demonstrate that they're in charge, that this is a new way of doing things. It probably has nothing to do with you. It's an agenda that may be about growing the company or about the boss displaying what he can do, displaying his power. Just as historically, many, many years ago in medieval times, the new king would cut off the heads of his predecessor just to show he was really there. Hopefully they're not doing that literally in your workplace, but metaphorically it can feel the same way. So what you can do is prepare for change. That means updating your resume. And if you've ever worked with me, you know that I recommend to all my clients to keep an updated resume, updated every 2 to 3 months, more often in some volatile situations. Make sure you've got all your accomplishments on your resume, and that it's updated not only with what you've done, but with the current trends in resumes, with that change. For instance, right now there's a shift to keywords, to targeting resumes to particular positions, and of course showing what you've done, showing results rather than job descriptions. Secondly, quickly reach out to reputable recruiters in your field. And that's important. Emphasize the word reputable, because not all recruiters have your interests at heart. So in an early stage, if your job is totally secure, start getting names of people who recruit ethically in your field. Who does your company use? Now, if your company uses a certain recruiter, they probably can't place you, but find out who they use and some of the competition. If you have friends in other companies, find out who they use as recruiters, who they've worked with, and have that list ready to go when the time comes. Recruiters don't work for you, so if they don't have a job in your field, they won't be able to do anything, but you want to get connected early. Secondly, your network, and that your network includes the usual professional groups. It might include alumni associations, it might include friends of friends, but your network, and I want to emphasize network outside the company. Sometimes if you're in a big company, you might want to start talking to people in other departments to see if you can arrange a transfer. That's a very good thing to do at this time, because a lot of times everybody knows that people from your department are going to be moving, and they won't be surprised when you call. But just learn the politics of your workplace before you do that. LinkedIn, get your profile updated and resume updated. I know several people who have gotten job offers and excellent jobs from being on LinkedIn. Professional services, that means coaches, consultants, people you pay for advice. If you're already on a payroll, you probably can afford to hire a coach for at least a few sessions, and you can do it comfortably without digging deep into your bank account. If you wait too long, until maybe you're looking for a new job, that can be trickier. So I would encourage you, and yes, I am biased, but I have been able to get the most effective results with clients who called me very, very early in the process. Keep playing the game to win. If you know me, you probably know I like analogies from basketball. I'm a big WNBA fan, and I love watching the game. If you notice in basketball, even when they're down to the last few seconds, they keep playing as if they could win. And you need to do that. It's hard. I always had major trouble with this myself, and I was not always successful. But ideally, what you want to do is first reassure your boss, your new boss, or, that you are going to support him or her, that you are not interested in getting his or her job. One example I just read about was someone who had been turned down for a promotion. It's very important in that case to talk to whoever you're reporting to and say, yes, I am disappointed, but I want to assure you that that is not going to get in the way of my support of you. And I will do whatever it takes to keep this team going. If your boss has a new boss, then make sure your boss knows that you are on the team and are willing to adapt to whatever you need. Even if you're looking hard outside the company or inside the company, you need to give that reassurance to your boss. This is all about your game face. Secondly, get inside information. And nowadays it's not that hard. Dig around, Google that person, not on the company computer, on your home computer. I was once working for an organization, and when there was a new person coming in and as a boss's boss type situation, and by some clever Googling and accidental Googling, I was able to find out what that person had done before, some indication of their salary range, their background, all kinds of things. You won't share that information ever with anyone in your company. This is for you to use. In fact, I encourage you to resist any temptation to gossip or complain within the company. It is not going to help. It is going to get back to your boss, and it will only be used against you. If you're feeling upset, talk to someone outside the company. Sometimes investing in a professional, a coach, counselor, even a therapist can be the best investment, because you can keep your job, because your feelings will be expressed outside the workplace. Go undercover. As I said, keep the game face up and do your digging, your detective work without telling anyone what you're doing. Avoid asking direct questions. One of my clients said that her boss changed dramatically after he got a new boss. And she said he was doing things differently. He was changing direction. All of a sudden, she was getting off the wall assignments. Well, if you ask what's going on, you have to be careful how you ask, because sometimes your boss really is not pulling the strings. Someone is over him or her, and someone is saying, do this. So your boss may have no control. It may not even know why you're being asked to do these things. He or she may be just passing requests down the line. Secondly, you will make them uncomfortable. When people are uncomfortable, there's a halo effect going on, and they'll start to feel more negatively about you. So you want to keep them comfortable at all times, if at all possible. And again, game face with your peers, not just with your boss and boss's boss. They usually cannot help you. So if they say something like, oh, there was a meeting, how come you weren't there? It is very tempting to say, well, I haven't been invited since our new jerk of a boss joined. And people will say those things, even at a surprisingly high level. But that won't do any good. They usually can't help you. The best thing is to say, instead, turn it on them and say something like, what happened? What can you tell me? What do I need to know? Always come across as confident and self-possessed and happy. no matter what. I know it's not possible to do this 100%, so don't beat yourself up if you fall down on this. But remember, they can harm you indirectly without meaning to. They may say something or drop a word, and they rarely can help you. Take action early. It's hard to do this. I mean, think about when Hurricane Sandy came, or we have storm warnings, and you don't see anything. The clouds are in this a blue sky, and you're feeling really good. And the authorities come and say you got to evacuate, and you say you got to be kidding. Well, that's very similar in a career. In fact, it's even harder because no one's coming along and saying, maybe you better start looking. Occasionally they will drop a hint, and then that's really, when that happens, that's really a strong warning sign. It's like seeing the clouds in the distance in a hurricane. But I would say assess your risk. Find out. For instance, if you have a contract will give you a buyout, it won't give you a job. If you're in a protected category and the company has a situation where they want to keep you for political reasons, if you've got a huge nest egg, something like that, then you might review the situation differently. But in any case, be realistic about it and focus on your job, not your next career if you need current income. Sometimes someone says to me, well, I'm going to get fired anyway, so it's time to change careers. And I love working with career changers. That's my favorite activity when I consult and coach people. But if your job is on the line and you're worried about money, that's not the time to change careers. You need to change careers when you're in a position of if not comfort, at least some sense of consolidation. So you have to make that decision. If you change careers, it is going to take a while, and it may not be the best thing to do at this time. Your next move is to get a job, even if it's something that you're not going to stay in forever, just to have an income coming in, some stability, and also you'll be more comfortable looking if you're in a place where you have something going on at this time. May not always be possible to do that. Sometimes we want to think about starting a business or maybe even making a radical career change or going back to school. But if at all possible, focus on your next job. If you need more support from me, I have a number of ways I work with clients. You can go to my website, midlifecareerstrategy.com, or go directly to the career strategy session. Many coaches and consultants do not offer single session options. They tell you it's either 3 months or 6 months or more. Now, to make a major change, yes, it does help to have long-term consulting or coaching. And if you want that kind of long-term coaching, I can certainly make it available to you. In the short term, however, if you've got a crisis, we can do a very, very productive single session. Many people say we get as much done as they got in a month elsewhere. It's totally confidential within the limits of the law. It's realistic. We don't pull any punches, and you don't have to lock yourself in to a long-term situation. So I encourage you first to, regardless of whether you work with me or someone else or work on your own, think about where you are, what you're doing, and what your next move might be. And as always, you're playing the first inning of your second career, and you're playing to win.